forward 18 years now, so at least another month. Thank you for being here. I know that my presentation is the last one here before lunchtime, and it's one of my favorite times of the day. So I'm the Director of Digital Solutions for JLG. If anybody has any questions about what that means, you absolutely can chat about that at lunchtime if you'd like. So with that, let's get talking about your augmented reality for technicians in the field. If the clicker works, it worked on the other side of the room. Failed. Sorry, folks. This is maybe one of those pauses where you can be explained by being a defense contractor, and everything is on ultra mega lockdown. So. There we go. Let's see if this button works. Try my clicker again. All right. Technically, we're starting 10 minutes early anyway, so this may be not as big a pause as we're doing. Not ideally. Yeah, that fits my comment earlier about government contractors. Let's try this one last time because it worked. If I need to, I may stand over here because I know it worked over here. Can you try mine again? Yeah. Just set it up on the counter. So more people are coming to listen to me. Hey Fred, go big guru, just want to miss this. Alrighty. Looky there. We'll just hold it up there. That'll be comfortable for so to get back rolling here. So before we again talk about augmented reality, what we want to kind of get clear on is generally these different technologies. A lot of times there's some confusion around what this is and what this isn't. It can kind of get a little bit overcomplicated. This is a prime example of what this is not. This is not augmented reality. This looks like it's a lot of fun, but definitely not. I doubt about this much fun talking about augmented reality. But it's maybe a very special place I can stand. There we go. I missed my punchline for Rick. So this a rather thinly veiled product marketing placement for my friend Rick Smith here. It was good following Jim, I think, with this, but this is another example of where this is not augmented reality. This is virtual reality. These are two very different technologies, and it's one of the key things I think to get everybody get level set before we start talking about this. So to understand where that is not working. This is funny. There it is. So this, I think, to start thinking about augmented reality, it just to boil it down to the simple, to the basics, right? It is simply just trying to identify what is the material, what's the information at hand, and how information has been captured and accessed and referenced over the years has evolved. We still use books today. I mean, books are still pretty awesome, but this is generally how it started, right? So you have information to be referenced at the time appropriate and can be used as a book. Where am I at? You guys are just going to flick it, aren't you? Never see my hand go up? There you go. That works. Then the digitization, it moves forward then, people can access it in the desktop. This is just, in essence, it becomes the same information. It's access to the desktop. It was evolved to a laptop. But the information generally was still someplace else, somebody had to go get that information when it was appropriate, when they needed it. I'll just do the hand raise. So now, the computer, the ubiquitous computer that's in all of our pockets, it has shrunk to the point that we have access to this information with us at all times. Again, the same digital information can be accessed through this mini computer that, again, is with each and every one of us throughout the day. The step into augmented reality is just taking that information and how do we overlay that onto the real world around the user, to the operator. It takes that technical information and using the cameras and a whole bunch of software that a bunch of very smart people have figured out how to make work, and it overlays that information onto the world around the operator or the user. The equipment, in my, I guess relational to our equipment and our technicians, it becomes the environment. So that environment can be triggered, the augmented reality engine can be triggered, it can recognize that geometry or QR code or a variety of different things to then link that information to the user when it's most appropriate. So you get the right information, whether it's a schematic or a different manual, in the person's hands when it means most. Then, we have the people that we're generally here to talk about today. Their reality of how they need to work on this equipment a lot of times looks like this. They need the information for how to troubleshoot, to diagnose, to actually perform the work. But this picture could potentially be a little rosier than what the reality actually is. There could be, a lot of times there's rain, there's snow, but also you're going to need a double click here. There's a massive amount of computer information and needs and challenges that come from a lot of the people in this room, their management. They generally, it's not as nice and clean as pretty. It's just getting that information and doing their job. Augmented reality is that tool that can help cut through the noise and the chaos and the cacophony of all that other information, the competing challenges they have for their time and their attention, to get them that data in their hands when it means most. Looking at the efficiency gains, the productivity gains, and understanding that using that environment, figuring out what problems, what are the problems that really matter for each of these different users is key. A lot of times it's not, generally maybe sometimes not the most valuable that you pick. It has to be which projects, which initiatives, which problems are the best ones for your organization. You look at what information you have available and what's the best first step for your organization. And with that efficiency, there's also the challenges that I'm sure we all see the headlines. We've all struggled with this, that finding technicians is one of the key problems and challenges for our organization. I was lucky enough to be at recently one of the AEMP conferences, the last one here down in Texas, and the number one topic that they were talking about is how do we attract today's generation to this industry. These headlines can kind of be a little bit, downer, and it looks like we don't have enough people for the jobs, but perhaps we need to take these sort of headlines and this sort of challenge we have and just realize we don't have enough people to keep doing the things today like we've always done them. We need to force ourselves into thinking different ways to get these things done. And the scale of this is definitely, I think, part of zooming kind of back out, after being in there, in the details, looking at those individual users, but zooming back out a bit, 200,000 unfilled jobs is pretty amazing number, if you will. And also the value of it is, $2.4 billion a year cost to just the equipment manufacturers. So this is a real problem. And the challenges we have. And the HR departments, I think, will say that, some of the polls that they've seen is 64% of millennials, and one of the other presenters recently talked about the different generations, but millennials wouldn't work in this industry even if they were paid more than $100,000 a year. That's kind of a glass half full sort of, or empty sort of look. The good news of what this shows is over a third of an entire generation is willing to work in this industry. So I don't think that it's as bleak as what some of the statistics and demographics would show. But there is a reality that, of this poll was of the 25 to 29-year-olds that are currently working, each of these generations from Gen X to the millennials, the education, up to 40% now of millennials in this group have a 4-year degree. So they've grown up with this technology. They have expectations of being able to just reach information. And the Gen Z that's not on this, it's even more of a challenge. The education expectations are still growing. But one of the things that we see is they also have an even more higher level of expectation to be learning, but then at the same time as learning, to be doing. They're so used, they didn't grow up to the days of Atari and traveling encyclopedia salesmen. They can't relate to that. They literally have had always information at their fingertips. So they're not going to accept some of the things maybe that even the Gen X's or the previous generations can just say, well, sometimes it's just how things work. So understanding demographics are definitely something we have to pay attention to. I think will be a key part of understanding how this was important. 1.29 trillion. This is the seasonally adjusted for the previous 12 months as of July. I think one of the previous presenters talked about it is trending down just a bit, but this is the overall scale. Like zooming back out to this to really see the overall scale that a lot of the people in this room and in our companies and our peers that we play in just the United States. This is a very big and daunting number that's generally quite difficult to comprehend. But as all good consultancies can do, McKinsey has boiled this down into about 7 relatable, but maybe conveniently vague action areas. But I think the key part of this is to say that if we would be able to address these, zooming back out here to say, even though further look back is to say, if we can address these, productivity up to 50 to 60% could be realized. And I know in the industrial space, 50 to 60% efficiency gains in building, actually manufacturing equipment things, that is, that's almost unheard of. But with one of the key things to take away here is 3 of those 7 relate directly to some of the problems that augmented reality can solve. You can improve that on-site execution by infusing this in technology innovation and reskill these workers. So we can make the technicians that we have on our teams today more efficient by giving them these new skills via this technology, and we can also set up this next generation that maybe they'll be more keen to join whenever it is a more modern experience. And just to kind of, I guess, even take another step back, that this is all part of a very significant part of the world's productivity. The industrial and manufacturing space has seen a nice steady increase in productivity. Our construction industry has a pretty well documented lack of improvement in efficiency over the last 20 years. So less than 1% over 20 years is pretty low. So if we could take and start applying those efficiencies to this industry, their estimate is that an additional $1.6 trillion in value could be realized. And that, I think, puts it in perspective that there is potential that you can unlock enough efficiency, enough dollars to be able to meet half of the overall infrastructure needs for the entire world. And again, these are out there, and these aspirational and I would say almost incomprehensible sort of views. So to get back into how can we really make a difference, I think you got to zoom back and you got to pay attention to the people that really matters, and realize that if you have pragmatic applications of this technology, you're going to accelerate the adoption. So this, each of these men and women that are in the field and doing these tasks, the key is identifying which problems matter to them, which challenges are they facing, and how can we address them. It's going to take attention to detail down at that level and realize that these technicians, these people, are the key to a vast improvement in the profitability of the entire world, if you will. So it matters, and they definitely matter. And the good news is this doesn't have to be just part of an aspirational, big kind of, warm and fuzzy sort of view. If each individual company takes their own role and they can say, hey, if I can solve my problems, I know it's part of this bigger initiative, be part of this bigger change that the world's working towards. The good news is each individual company's metrics will reflect how well they're doing. They'll be able to know real world how big of a difference they're making by looking at their people and their businesses to try and apply these efficiencies to that. So if that occurs, then the bottom line is they'll keep putting on rent more, customers will be able to be using it more frequently, and overall profitability can then go up. And also the scalability. So when I talk about picking the right, which problem you're trying to solve, a lot of times finding the first ones that you should do, tying into the scalability. Know what information you have, and how can it scale? Because a lot of these same problems can be solved, for that field technician, can apply to the truck drivers, the delivery teams. They can apply to the trainers and the operators, and sales teams as well. It's about leveraging that information that you already have and delivering it into that person's hands, the right place at the right time. So, I'd say the last part is, we're all kind of sitting here, and the world and our businesses just continue to churn on, right? Nobody's going to hit the pause button and let us all kind of get our bearings or wits about us to figure out what we should do and how we should approach this. It's going to keep, the world's going to keep turning, all this is going to keep going. There'll be, some ups and downs and things, but in general, this is a journey. And at the same time as we're trying to figure this out, out here at the end, there's going to be it's going to keep turning. But that person in the field, is going to depend on each of these different steps. So I'd say the best thing I'd say is, we're not going to get started, until we just get started. So today would be definitely the first place I would say is we can start figuring out how we can make this happen. And that's it. Any questions? Do we have time for questions or anything?
We do have time for questions. Does anyone have a question? Korry? No one?
No questions?
No.
That's either a really good or really bad sign.
We've got one over here.
Good? Do we have a question? All right.
So with the technicians in the field using this, how active is our industry versus other industries? And is there others that you point to and say, hey, they're maybe 2 or 3 years ahead in implementing it, and kind of a bit of a roadmap for us, or are we leading this?
So with augmented reality, I'd say that I think that it's a slowly growing technology. Wearables is one of those key things I think people have gone to, and I'd say that some of the challenges those taking off has been that they really just haven't quite been there. But I'd say augmented reality in general in the world is growing acceptance. You have a variety of different consumer type apps, but actually true applications in these different industries. I think it's the good news is I don't think any of us in this room are that far behind. I think that is in the general technology is starting to get its traction, and people are starting to get their arms around it more to be able to figure out how they can apply best.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, Korry, thank you so much.